Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's DLloyd, and today, man, we got a ton of Madden NFL 23 news. I made another video speaking about the franchise mode, specifically and the improvements that they made to franchise mode, because you know that's mainly what we do here on this channel. So if you haven't taken a look at that, make sure you guys go over and take a look at that video. Maybe I drop that after this. So if that's the case, make sure you guys are subscribed, because that video will be coming out later today, man. But this video, we're going to be specifically talking about gameplay and gameplay only, because there is a ton of gameplay improvements, and I think this is really the gameplay year for Madden, right? Like, typically you focus maybe on some features, maybe on graphic improvements, but I think this year gameplay is the area we're going to see the most improvements at, because this list that they revealed today is crazy, and we got to get into it, man. The first one we have to talk about is the whole new field sense, and what that is going to mean for the series. The new field sense gameplay system, it is only available for the PS5, Xbox Series X and S versions of the game. No PC, unfortunately, and no last gen either. So it is only the current generations of consoles that's going to be getting it. But there's a ton of stuff that we have to go over in Field Sense. And basically, Field Sense is it's really from the ground up. It's the fundamentals of the game. So the physics-based system mainly has been improved, so that way we could get more variations. And the first thing that they want to talk about with the new field sense is how the tackling is improved, what they're calling hit everything. So before, there was kind of predictable animations, right, when it came to tackling, and sometimes it just didn't make sense. Your momentum will stop, you will kind of get tackled in the other direction. We've all been there where the tackles kind of didn't make sense, and they said that a lot of feedback that they were getting was that was breaking immersion, which I would 100% agree with. They never asked me, but I would 100% agree with those type of things can break immersion of the game. So they wanted to focus on that and make sure they were more organic and still more physics based when you're making collisions. They did add over 3,500 new animations as well on top of the hit everything. So the hit everything is going to allow you to what they're calling hit the pile. So we're going to have more organic gang tackles. So now gang tackles aren't just the same old. You'll be able to get involved with the gang tackle later. We will see more organic pile-ups, and even how the running back responds to the pile-up and the gang tackles are going to be different, and we should see the proper outcomes and a variety of possible outcomes as well. So I mean, that is dope. That is definitely a dope thing. We have to see how it's going to work. I believe the PS3 and Xbox 360 gen, we had pretty good gang tackles in my opinion later. I mean, relative to what we have now, I prefer those gang tackles. So getting that back is cool. They added stand-up tackles, which you could intentionally give a player an opportunity to stand up a runner for another teammate to come make a play. So maybe you want to stand up a runner and maybe have another defender come and try to strip the ball, or him come and try to make sure he doesn't get additional yards. That is a cool feature as well. I'm not quite sure how that's going to be enacted in terms of like how do you begin a stand-up tackle. Maybe they get more into that stuff later. I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible because there's a ton of stuff still. They have hitting the blocks. Just different ways of going with tackles, right? So you have the blocks, and say you have a guy, a right tackle blocking a right end. You could then have your running back come and chip on that guy, and that's pretty cool. Like that is pretty cool how that adds on to the blocking, and it's just more organic. And I think that's really the main feature and the main point that EA is trying to show. It's more physics based. Everything is more organic. So that's pretty cool. They now have mid-air knockouts. They had a couple of kind of canned animations in the past, but we have seen more of those, and this is supposed to be another situation where now we're going to get a ton more where the ball's in the air, and now you could go ahead and try to make a play, and these are going to be independent of one another. So it's literally now I can't control to hit you in the air, and it's not going to warp me into the animation. I could run up to you, and then I could hit you with a hit stick, conserve, whatever it is, and you should have more control over that. which is pretty cool. We talked about the add-on blocks as well, and then the branching of physics. So now you should be able to get in and out of animations and player control a whole lot more smoothly. On top of that, we now have skill-based passing, and skill-based passing, I think is really going to be loved in those online head-to-heads, or even in Ultimate Team, right, where it's super duper competitive. I'm not sure how I feel about it in sim leagues. Definitely don't mind it in offline. Everybody can enjoy the game how you want. But basically, what skill-based passing is going to allow you to have more control over where you place the football. All about ball placement. So just the basics of it is, once you pass the ball, you will then see, and you guys can see in the trailer kind of playing over and over again at some point, you would then be able to see where you're aiming the football and where the ball will be placed with the new skill-basing thing. So you will have a little area that you're allowed to kind of free roam with initially, and you can opt out of that and get more freedom. We'll talk about that in just a second. But just for the basic level, you'll have a little area that you can throw, and by default, it's kind of like how it is now. If you press right, it's going to snap to the right side of the area, and that's where you're going to throw the football. Now you can hold L2 or the left trigger, and now you can define exactly where you want that within that area, right? So if you don't want it all the way to the right, you kind of want a little bit more centered, you can then do that by holding, like I said, the left trigger or L2. But then for advanced users or people that really want all of the control, they have free form passing. And free form passing will allow you to throw the ball pretty much where you want to. Once again, you will still hold the left trigger or L2. But if you really want to lead your receiver on the streak, you can. There is a throwing limit to how far you could throw the football, but you could really get crazy with exactly where you want to pinpoint the pass. I don't know how I feel about this, to be honest. I think I would have to see it and play the game to really get a true idea on how good it's going to be. We've seen EA try things like this in the past, and typically they're 1-year deals, right? They come in, people don't really like it, and then you get rid of the idea later. They do have new passing power meters as well. Power meter, basically what we have in the game now, just without the meter, right? If you hold down the icon, it'll be a bullet pass. If you press it with medium strength, it'll be a touch pass. If you just tap it, it'll be a lob pass. Basically what we have now. They also have an accuracy meter, and this is where I definitely say it doesn't come into play in sim leagues, in my opinion, but definitely competitive, and it's just coming to outskilling your opponent. Accuracy doesn't matter who you have. That will be available as well. So those are the main things out of the passing. Now I want to go to the 360 cuts. Not too much to talk about here. I feel like we had this before. You go hold L2 left trigger. You can make more defined cuts, more control over your player. And I think with the stitching that they kind of have now to break in and out of animations, that should be pretty solid. That should definitely be pretty solid, and you could get a little bit more funky when it comes to running the ball. Receiver and DB battles has been improved. More receiver releases. They talked about that before. They have more releases now that you'll be able to chain together. So it could be hop step releases that's chainable within the route, which is cool. We have better receiver cut moves and fakes to help with the route running and the organic reactions you would expect from wide receivers, which is definitely cool, man. New defensive back press and receiver counters is once again just comes to the releases. Just more organic, right? Maybe the DB wins this time. We'll see a more realistic, instead of them just the same old jam animation. When the guy gets off and off, you should hopefully see more jostling and fighting at that line of scrimmage, and that will be great, because that will make players stand out, especially because the meta kind of is, for the most part, just get a fast receiver and you're okay. But if you get an elite route runner, or a guy has great release, or you have a DB has great press, I think we should start seeing those guys be more valued, right? Because now that means more. That definitely means more. So for them to add that is definitely pretty solid, and that's pretty much it in terms of everything from the Field Sense gameplay system. Now to the improvements, and I believe this should be across the board, so any generation of console that you're playing this game on, it should work, because I don't see anything that says it's specific to one gen or another. So the pass coverage look like it got a ton of updates. The main one is just the drop zones initially, so no more will you have the match coverage just from selecting a play. So this year, you call a cover 3 match, you pretty much know it's a match coverage, but you may have something like cover 4 quarters, cover 4 palms. Those are different match principles that some people may not be aware of. And just if you're a beginner or just playing the game, basically the play art that you see on the field isn't what's going to take place at all, especially like in the cover 4, right? Cover 4 palms, you have a wide receiver to one side, that's man to man, like that corner is manned up with that wide receiver, but the play art is going to show him dropping back into a deep quarter look, and that's not what's going to happen. So by default, everything will run by the drop zone. So they will fall back into the zone coverage. You could then go into the coaching adjustments and turn on match. So by default, that will be a little bit different. But speaking of zones, the logic for zone defenders and the drifting has been improved. So we all hate when you have that deep third dropping back, your opponent has a crosser, and your guy just lets him just run right across his face, even though there's no other vertical threat in that zone. And you're like, bro, what are you doing? Take away the crosser, and the crosser's open all day long. And you see the same with corner routes, crossers, and that's why it's so popular for people to run that, just because the zone logic doesn't defend that very well. Well, according to EA, that is going to change. So now you have a guy drop back into that deep third. The logic, new drift logic is what they're calling it, will then recognize that there is an approaching receiver quicker, and instead of just keep dropping back, they will get up, plaster him in coverage as soon as he crosses his face. So they're going to make sure they're not just running freely. That will change a lot. That will change a lot of offensive game plans, and that will make defense actually, not more enjoyable, but more competitive, right? Because you're not going to have guys just breaking zones and being just wide open. They have new locomotion, which kind of just goes with the movement animation. So the receivers will backpedal, flip their hips, strafe more organically. It'll be more smooth looking. Just kind of goes back to the physics base and basically what you would expect to see on Sunday when you're really watching the NFL. Route specific break throw animations and logic, that is pretty cool to me. So based off of the zone, they will guard and react to certain routes better than others. So if you have a guy covering the flats, they will break on a flat breaking route a whole lot better than if a guy then goes into the deep route, or he goes over the top, or he breaks even on a dig. You shouldn't be able to react as quickly as you were to basically what you're assigned to do. Same with if you're dropping back into a deep third, you will help break on a corner route better than you would you then breaking in on a post route, right? Because that's not really your assigned area. That's not really what you're supposed to do, and you typically give that up, especially dropping back into a deep third. You're more protecting the outside, with your back towards the sideline, as opposed to trying to take anything away from the middle of the field. So that is definitely cool. End zone logic has been improved, as well as the DB catch and SWAT interactions. We kind of went over the interaction between the receiver and the DB before, but now just playing the ball, they won't always go for the interception. You will see more SWAT attempts, which is going to be more organic, more realistic. The DB, it's not all, in Madden, you always want the interception, but in football, a lot of times the SWAT is the correct move to go with. You just want to make sure you break up the pass and live to see another down. They did improve the pass rushing and the quarterback containing. So all pass rushers should have quicker get-offs, and they should have better disengage. We all had that issue with the quarterback scrambling on one side and you're kind of stuck in that blocking animation. You should have a better chance now of getting off of that block and then going after the quarterback. They improved the rush lane integrity, so guys should stay in their gaps. So then, say you have a guy filling up the A technique or the AI technique, you then have that linebacker that's supposed to come down and fill in that B gap. So those should help improve, stopping the run, and it should just help improve, even quarterback scrambles, right? So those are pretty cool things. We talked about the pass, the QB contain. They should have better logic trying to contain the quarterback, and this kind of all goes into escape artists. Escape artists are one of the most broken abilities in Madden 22. They have nerfed that. So it used to just be a superstar ability. Now it is an X factor. And on top of being an X factor, they just tuned down a lot how effective it was. So you had guys like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, I believe, that had escape artists. I would assume they may still have it as an X factor ability, but no more is it more of a bailout. Like I could just drop back and escape artists. I'm full acceleration, full speed. Nobody can catch me, and it's more of a bailout. That shouldn't be the case because the guy would have to be in the zone for that to happen. And knocking him out of the zone, I'm sure, will be a little bit easier than that. On top of that, they did improve the playbook. So basically what they did was make it more realistic, right? Because most NFL teams are not coming into games with a 500 play playbook at their disposal. They're going to have their go-to concepts, and that's what they're going to run. Say you are an air raid team like the Cardinals. You're going to run your meshes like that. That is going to be a core concept for your scheme. Just because that is generally what air raid teams, are built on. They're built around that mesh concept. You have a wide zone scheme like Shanahan or McVay. You have your go-to concepts. You're not going to all of a sudden be playing differently or choosing random plays. So basically, they're going to cut back on the amount of plays available, but they will focus on the core concepts. So you should have more of the core concepts that team runs, but less of the fluff, less of the filler plays, which I'm a fan of, and I think you'll get more unique offense, not unique, but more styles. How this team plays. This is kind of what they're going to do, but they're going to be great at it. And I think just as an individual, it kind of forces you to kind of learn your concepts. Like, this is the couple things we do, but we're going to do these couple things really well. And I think that is more realistic, more sim football, and you guys know that's what we are. Same thing on defense, same type of deal. For us offline guys, the AI quarterback has been tuned as well, so there should be a bigger differentiation between great quarterbacks and bad quarterbacks. So if you have like a 90 overall quarterback, he's going to be picking you apart. If you have a 60 overall quarterback, talking about the AI, it should be a little bit different. He should struggle to find the open receiver. There should be a higher chance of him throwing into, coverage as opposed to always finding the big guys. So it being a differentiation between those guys is going to be big, in my opinion. I think that helps. Injuries has been tuned as well. One, you can actually see a guy's going to be injured. He's going to be injured. So no more is a guy hurt, the play ends. You see him running back to the huddle. You see him celebrating. The next thing you know, he's not in the game. So it should be more context to that. When an injury happens, you kind of know the injured guy's he's hurt. So that's definitely cool. He's going to go to the ground. He'll stay on the ground until he's assisted off the field by the training staff. I'm sure we'll see a cutscene from that. But, I mean, that just helps just because sometimes I think we've all been there, too, where you just don't know a player is hurt until it pops up at the bottom like, oh, do you want him to come back in? You're like, yo, when did you get hurt? So that's definitely cool. Then they added more signature content as well. We captured more signature animations for selection of the top players in the league. Some of the latest and best touchdown celebrations that they add into the game. So all that stuff you expect, in modern times when it comes to sports games, man. But I try to run through a lot of it as quickly as possible. It is a lot because they have added a lot. So hopefully that was the cliff notes. You guys let me know how you guys feel about the gameplay improvements. I feel like it is big, at least on paper. We will have to see how it plays, but I am excited for Madden NFL 23. I think it's going to be a much improved game. And gameplay is king, in my opinion. Even though I am a franchise guy, I want those updates too. Gameplay is king. If the gameplay sucks, there's only so much you can enjoy a game, and it looks like they focus a lot on gameplay this cycle. But you guys let me know how you guys feel about it in the comments section below. It's DLloyd. I'm going to see y'all next time. Peace.